Hello everyone, I'm Michaela Kathleen, and in this video I'm going to be talking about some book goals that I set last year. Last year for Black History Month, I picked out 12 books that I would like to purchase and or read over the course of that year. I picked 4 nonfiction books, 4 fiction books, and 4 poetry books. And I had done a similar thing the year before for Women's History Month. I picked out 12 feminist reads that year. And as I said in the video last year where I was setting these goals for Black History Month, I did not do very well with my feminist reads over the course of that year. I ended up only buying 2 of the 12 books and I hadn't read any of them yet. And I will say I did similarly poorly this year for my books for my Black History Month goal. But like I said, just having these goals at least keeps it on my mind, and I feel like I do a little bit better at prioritizing some of these books when I know I have them on a list. So yeah, let's just get right into it on the books, the list, which ones I bought, which ones I didn't. I did actually read some of them for this one, so that's something. But yeah, one of those books was actually on both lists. There was only one book that I put on both lists, and I did manage to buy that book, although I still have not read it, and that is The Poet X by Elizabeth Acevedo. So yeah, this is sitting on my TBR. But since it is on my physical TBR, that means I will read it someday. So to me, that's all that really counts. My TBR is just very long. I tend to put new books at the bottom. That way other books don't end up staying on my TBR forever and never being read. So yeah, this one is still pretty far down, but I will get to it someday. Another book that was on my list for Women's History Month 2 years ago, that was not on my list for Black History Month, but that I will mention because I did end up buying it, is Bad Feminist by Roxane Gay. And of course this could go on my Black History Month list as well. But yeah, I did end up purchasing this one for my Women's History Month list. I haven't read it yet, but it is on my March TBR, so I am reading it next month for Women's History Month. So I will finally have read one of the books on that list from 2 years ago. But going back to my list that I made last year for Black History Month, I had, of course, 4 nonfiction books on that list, and I did not purchase any of them. Nonfiction is something that I don't read super often. I read like less than 5 a year for sure. So that one is admittedly the toughest part of the list for me. But the books that were on that part of the list were Stamped by Ibram X. Kendi and Jason Reynolds, Between the World and Me by Ta-Nehisi Coates, Hood Feminism, and Why I'm No Longer Talking to White People About Race. So yes, all still on my list, still hoping to get them someday, but it could be a while. But moving on to my fiction list, I did a little bit better on this one. The first one on that list was Children of Blood and Bone, which I have not gotten yet, but I'm still very excited for it. It still looks like a really cool fantasy series. But the second one on that list I did purchase and I read, and that was Dear Martin by Nick Stone. I read this one in December and I really enjoyed it, so I'm planning to reread it this coming December and read the sequel, Dear Justice. The third book on my fiction list was The Underground Railroad by Colson Whitehead, which I did not purchase or read, but I did start the television adaptation, and I did not finish it because I was not enjoying it. I still wouldn't mind trying the book one day. Obviously, don't judge a book by its television or movie adaptation. But yeah, I was sad that I did not enjoy the TV show. And then the final book on my fiction list is another one that I purchased and that I haven't read yet, but I might get to it this year. It's kind of coming up on my TBR. It's made its way onto the TBR Cart, which are the books that I consider to be like the ones that I'm reading soon, and that is Dread Nation by Justina Ireland. I'm so excited for this one. It has such a cool concept of it takes place during the Civil War, and on the battlefield of Gettysburg, the dead begin to rise. So that just sounds really cool, and I'm very excited for this one, and I'm hoping that I get to it this year. since I have this one now, I'm gonna go ahead and put a new one in its place on the list for books that I want to purchase, and one that I would like to purchase is The Gilded Ones by Namina Firma. This one just has a really gorgeous cover. I pretty much decided I wanted this one just when I saw the cover, had no idea what it was about. The concept sounds a little bit similar to Red Queen, which is a book that I own and that I've wanted to read for years and years and years, but I still have not read. But I only just purchased it like within the last year. But yeah, again, just look at this cover. It's so beautiful. So then finally moving on to the poetry category. As I said, I have purchased The Poet X, have not read it yet. And unfortunately, I have not purchased any of the other books that were on this list. But the other ones were For Everyone, We Want Our Bodies Back, and just a collected works from Maya Angelou. So maybe I'll get those someday. Honestly, the poetry category is a little more questionable. I have not read a lot of poetry yet. It is on kind of my radar as something I'm dipping my toes in, something I'm trying. I haven't read a lot of poetry since my school days, and I did not enjoy poetry in school, but that might have been because it was in school. I do enjoy slam poetry on YouTube, so yeah, I'm kind of dipping my toes into poetry. I haven't decided yet how much I'm enjoying it. I read like a very small collected works from Emily Dickinson this year, and I enjoyed it well enough. I haven't read any that are like this yet, that are an actual story just told in verse. So this is probably the first one I'm going to read that is like that, and we'll see if I enjoy that or not. But yeah, if I end up deciding I'm really not enjoying poetry, I might, you know, end up not reading more poetry after I've gotten through the few that I have collected. We shall see. But yeah, that was kind of a review of the books that were on my list of books by Black authors that I would like to read, that I came up with last year for Black History Month. I did slightly better than I did the year before for Women's History Month, but still not great. But as I said, just having the goal keeps it at the front of my mind, and if I can just get the books onto my physical TBR, then that means I will read them someday. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed watching. I would recommend go check out Blackathon. Various YouTube creators are hosting Blackathon this year. More information for that would be available on Jesse's channel over on Bowties and Books. And yeah, thanks for watching. Now on to the quote for today's video, which today I have one from Philip Pullman, and it goes, "After nourishment, shelter, and companionship, stories are what we need most in the world." Thanks for watching. Remember, words matter.